Yeah, Jenny has an appointment, so she will not be around for the post show. Here we go.
The
Daily Tech News Show with Tom Merritt is brought to you by Loyal.
Nothing, I'm sorry.
No, what was that?
It's a curious group in here, that's all.
Yes, it is.
Sorry.
Daily Tech News Show with Tom Merritt is brought to you by loyal patrons like you. If that's not you, head on over to bit.ly/helpdtns because giving a little always helps a lot. That's bit.ly/helpdtns.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, July 23rd, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me on a Thursday, not on a Monday, but it's okay. Veronica Belmont is here. How's it going, Veronica?
Great. Yeah, this is my second non-Monday in a row, I think.
You're starting to make people believe that you aren't on Mondays.
I'm not actually the Monday contributor. I'm just some kind of weird up in the air whenever she
Unstuck in
herself
time
to show up kind of contributor.
Also joining us today, because we're going to talk about Windows 10 a week ahead of its launch, Mr. Paul Thurrott of Windows Weekly and What the Tech, and of course, Thurrott.com. How's it going, Paul?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Thank you for joining us. We're going to talk a lot about Windows 10, but just off the top of your head, if you had to say in 2 words what you think of Windows 10, what 2 words could you choose?
Oh, jeez.
That's
More
good.
things.
That's good.
Perfect.
2 words.
It's perfect.
Oh,
That's
geez.
awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect upgrade.
Here we go. Let's take a look at some headlines. The Verge reports Electronic Sports League, you probably hear it referred to as ESL, will introduce a drug policy. eSports has made it. Corey Friesen, a high-ranked Counter-Strike global offensive player, recently admitted to using Adderall during matches. The ESL said it's in the beginning stage of formulating a policy, so it hasn't presented an implementation timeline, and punishments will not be enforced retroactively, but they are part of the world doping organizations that other sports are part of, so sadly, it's for real now.
Yeah, no, that is a big deal, and I'm not surprised actually that Adderall was the first drug to come to the fore in this particular bit of drama in ESL. But yeah, it makes you wonder, like, gosh. But what if you need Adderall because you have ADD or have some other kind of learning disorder? I guess you would have to get that checked off by a doctor first.
Sure, and I think there is precedent in professional sports of other types that if you need a steroid for a therapeutic purpose, you can get a doctor to sign off and say, yes, we're only giving it to them in this amount, et cetera, et cetera. But I think those cases are less frequent than might be the case, I don't know, in esports.
I always play esports better after a couple of beers. Does that count?
Yeah, I don't think there's any. I don't think that's a controlled substance.
Okay.
Paul, you're laughing. You play Call of Duty better after
Call
a
of
couple
Duty
beers.
qualifies in esport?
Yeah. Well,
Then I'm completely against this ban.
All right, moving on. Xiaomi is teaming up with Uber to help deliver smartphones in Singapore and Malaysia, according to Recode. Users can select Xiaomi from the Uber app to order a Mi Note phone and pay with the credit card tied to the Uber account. You like how I called it Uber?
because it's
That's what they call it over there.
right. No, that makes sense to me. I wasn't going to say anything.
This kind of follows on the trend of Uber delivering all the things that people need. It's really becoming a go-to service for getting goods, getting services, getting puppies, getting ice cream, whatever it is they happen to be promoting that day. But yeah, they're kind of jumping into the Postmates category or the TaskRabbit category, where you can have something kind of random delivered to your house just because that's what you need at that moment, and they have drivers out there in the world.
Yeah, and Xiaomi is definitely the kind of company that wants to try different distribution methods as well. So it's kind of a partnership made in heaven, I guess.
Tom, did I say that right?
Say what right?
Xiaomi?
Xiaomi.
Yeah, you did.
Xiaomi, thank you.
TechCrunch reports Line has launched a slimmed-down version of its messaging app called Line Lite for Android. The 1 megabyte app only does text chat. It is available in Algeria, Cambodia, Colombia, Egypt, India, Mexico, Pakistan, Philippines, Saudi Arabia, Korea, and Vietnam. Line has 205 million users, but they're mostly in Japan, Thailand, and Taiwan. So they want to expand outside of those markets. And of course, you remember Facebook put out a slimmed-down version recently as well, so have a few other companies.
Yeah, I learned about Line the first time when I was in Japan, actually, because it was so hugely popular over there. And I believe I also downloaded it recently when I was in China, because I think it was one of the apps that wasn't blocked there for messaging use.
What do you use for messaging, Paul?
I use Facebook. I'm an old person.
Actually, Facebook Messenger is pretty popular.
We do have Line on Windows Phone, so we're not complete backwater world.
Your answer is actually more current with world trends than mine, which would be SMS.
I know.
Yeah, that's actually fair. I probably do use SMS more than Facebook.
Slack. It's all about the Slack. I love me some Slack. Okay, moving on. Microsoft, Facebook, Yahoo, Dropbox, AT&T, Adobe, and LinkedIn, wow, have teamed up with education partners like Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, and Georgia Tech to help educate future developers and app makers about accessibility. The partnership is called Teaching Accessibility and will focus on accessibility and design principles in main courses taken by computer scientists, designers, and researchers. Microsoft says job descriptions should also state a preference for those with accessibility knowledge. That makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of companies, including Microsoft, have been making a lot of positive strides towards addressing accessibility issues, which is something that, market-wise, there probably isn't as much pressure on them to do.
I mean, I guess we have gotten requests for that kind of thing, even just for Sword and Laser and other shows that we've done in the past for people who can't hear or are blind and aren't able to see the show notes in the way that we're entering them on the website. So, this is all stuff that we have to think about as we become an increasingly wired together world. We have to take everyone into account and make sure everyone can access the same information and be able to communicate online in the same way that sighted and hearing enabled and all sorts of people can use.
Reuters reports LG Display Company believes OLED is the future, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. World's largest LCD display maker is going to invest $1 billion in their fourth OLED display factory. LG Display and Samsung Display, which is a division of Samsung, are the only companies capable of large-scale OLED screen production right now, and the aim is to provide more capacity for small and mid-sized devices. They make the TV screens as well, but it seems like the growth is all in phones and watches and things like that.
Remember when everyone was all excited about the 11-inch OLED screens?
Yeah.
A few years ago, we were like, "Oh, it's so beautiful," and now it's going to be normal.
Make LED the new plasma.
And then it will have the same fate.
9to5Mac has sources that say Apple will soon allow approved manufacturers to make charging pads for the Apple Watch. Right now, dock makers can only create a space in their dock for Apple's magnetic charger to rest. Why has this taken so long? Anybody?
And it's news. I don't know.
No, seriously though, I mean, it's been boggling my mind because I want a stand charger for this dumb watch, and yet they've created really cool looking ones for sure where you can stick the charger in and have it work, but at the same time it's not as for a company that really wants that aesthetics matters so much. You think that they would be right out of the gate saying, okay, here are here's what you can work with, here are the specs, this is what you can do, and approve at least a handful of manufacturers right out of the gate. But I guess they want people to buy their own chargers first and then think about third-party creators later.
Paul, do you have any idea? It just seems to be Apple's method of control.
Yeah, I was going to say, this seems consistent to me. They typically work like this. A new iPhone will come out, and the cases for it aren't really available right away, or in this case, a charger. They tend to slipstream this stuff in over time. And honestly, I mean, in some ways, they're better than they used to be with regards to opening this stuff up to third parties.
Yeah,
that's true.
At least they may, although this is still sources.
They may, yeah. Assuming this is true.
Right.
Maybe.
Here's one for you app devs. TechCrunch reports IBM has acquired Compose, a database-as-a-service startup, once known as Mongo HQ, although they do more than Mongo now. The company will continue to operate as usual, continue to serve its customers. Its service lets app developers not have to worry about database backends, and IBM intends to use Compose to expand its Bluemix platform offerings.
Yay.
Hey, if you're an app dev, yes, yay.
I hope that someday that yay is used in an IBM ad.
IBM
Bluemix.
Yay.
Moving on, here's one for the sysadmins. TechCrunch reports Google has taken its cold storage service Nearline out of beta. The service offers a very warm cold storage service offering access to archived data within seconds rather than hours. It's also less than half the price of standard cloud storage. Cloud storage transfer service is also now generally available if you want to move data from any HTTPS server, including Amazon S3. There's also an offer for a 10 petabyte credit for new
100.
customers.
100 petabyte credit.
100 petabyte credit for new customers, but that also has some strings attached.
Yeah, it's a really confusing offer of like, you have to commit to keeping the 100 petabytes above 100 petabytes for a certain amount of time. So go read it up and see if it actually helps you at all.
We need cold storage for consumers. You know, something like Amazon Glacier, but for people.
Yeah, just for
a lot
individuals.
of the data I have, I don't really need all that much, but I don't want to lose it, and I would love to push it into something that was, you know, less expensive but more voluminous.
And with access of seconds like this, which
I mean,
you
it's
may
not even
say,
cold,
well,
technically it's not cold storage.
Yeah, I mean it's tepid storage, right? I mean you can't call it up immediately, but it's like accessing the web in 1995.
Yes,
essentially.
Oh, and Tensor Guy wants me to say accessibility a few more times. So accessibility.
It's important.
Accessibility.
I don't think there's any problem with that. All right. Several of the stories you've heard are from our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Get in there and enjoy all of the offerings of our audience. There's more than 5,000 people in there submitting stories, and it helps the more people that vote for us to make our lineup. T2T2 sent us this one. The Verge reports that the European Union Commission has issued a statement of objection against Sky UK and 6 major film studios, saying licensing agreements unfairly restrict customers' access to content within the EU. The studios are Disney, NBC Universal, Paramount, Sony, 20th Century Fox, and Warner Brothers, the big ones. The companies all have a chance to respond before a full antitrust suit is brought. The Commission is also investigating similar charges against Canal Plus, Sky Italia, Sky Deutschland, and others, trying to make it like it is here in the U.S., where it doesn't matter as long as you're in Europe, you can watch whatever you've bought or streamed.
Mm-hmm. Moving on, starfuryzeta passed us the Engadget story about Twitch converting from Flash to HTML5. Yay! The first step is swapping out the video controls. Videos are still Flash-based for now, but will eventually be converted as well.
That's is that great. A nail in the Flash coffin?
I think
we're running out of space.
Yeah.
Well-deserved nail.
And finally, yeah, seriously. CNBC reports Amazon reported $23.18 billion in revenue and a profit of $92 million, earnings per share of 19 cents. Analysts had expected revenue of $23.39 billion, so they missed a little bit on that, but earnings per share, they expected a loss of 14 cents. Take that, profit margin moaners. Amazon made you some money.
Take that.
So Bezos is just rubbing it in people's faces.
So is this 92 million in profits over the past 10 years? Is that what we're looking at here?
Well, I mean seriously, 92 million out of 23.18 billion is a razor thin.
Well, but for Amazon, that's fantastic.
I know, right? That's what's crazy is how exciting that is for Amazon stock holders.
Yes. And in a non-holiday quarter.
Yeah, right. No, that's true. Well, but what they had, what was it? Prime Day.
Prime Day.
That's right. Yeah, the get rid of old stock day, you mean?
Yeah, so they made their own holiday. I guess that must have worked. It must have helped push them up above. Okay, folks, Windows 10 coming July 29th. And Paul, that means July 29th, we can all sit down and update Windows 10 as long as we are part of the Insider program and have reserved our copy. Is that right?
Yes. Actually, that is right.
Okay.
As long as you are part of the Insider program.
Yeah. So who else can get it on July 29th? Is that pretty much it? Like if you're not part of the Insider program, you're going to have to wait?
It's really unclear. The people who are in the Insider program are in fact getting it right now. So if you had already upgraded PCs to a beta version of Windows 10, you will have by now already gotten the final RTM version. I mean, there might be hot fixes that will occur over the next week, but it's already been happening, and all my PCs have already been upgraded.
Except it's not an RTM version because no version is going to be an RTM version, which is also confusing.
This is take the blue pill, take the red pill. You know, I don't know what they're talking about. I have parsed this, and frankly, there is something that they gave to PC makers that are
One
they're
would
putting on
assume,
PCs,
right?
and we could call that RTM. I mean, I don't know why they don't.
Because they released it to manufacturers.
to manufacturers. Yes.
So that would make sense to call it RTM. Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
But they're not calling
They
it
do
that.
not think so. I've been
All right.
corrected on this 3 times by Microsoft now.
Oh no. So is there any reason we shouldn't look to upgrade as soon as this, gets pushed out to us? I know in the
There are
past
plenty of
there's been
reasons.
Oh yeah, please share with us.
Well, no, I mean, just generally, I would say it's unproven in some ways, right? We had 5 million people tested through the Windows Insider program, which is the best ever, but it's still only 5 million out of a potential audience of 1 to 1.5 billion people. So I think for most people, it's advantageous to wait and see how it goes. Microsoft's going to slipstream people into the upgrade system over the days and weeks and maybe even months after July 29th. I mean, let's see how fast it goes. If it goes fast, that means things went really well. And in that case, I think it might be safe for individuals to upgrade. But there's no huge impetus to do it immediately unless you're just a technology fanatic. Like I am, But
Well, that's a good question. I mean, those of us who just want to try it probably have already been trying it, right? Those of us who are waiting for the day that aren't aficionados probably won't really care if we have to wait a little longer. So I guess it doesn't matter if they delay it. But is there anyone who really should upgrade beyond just the folks who are enthusiastic about it?
And you're talking about upgrading on an existing computer, replacing the software that's already on there. It's a tough one to answer because in most cases the answer is always no, right? Because if you have a perfectly working Windows computer, why would you ever take the chance of upgrading to something that is perhaps a little unfamiliar, has different features, works differently, etc. There are neat things about Windows 10, and it's a much more positive experience than Windows 8 ever was, not just from a user experience standpoint, but also from just an upgrade experience standpoint. But it's still a fairly major undertaking, and there's a lot of support infrastructure in place. And like I said earlier, we'll see how it goes. But I would take a wait and see approach to this one, just because of the sheer enormity of it.
So my biggest reason for using Windows overall is for gaming. Are there any major gaming issues? Are there things we should be thinking about in terms of drivers, or what does this mean for gamers? PC gamers.
So for gamers, actually it is a net positive. So it's got a new version of DirectX, which will be unique to Windows 10. It has integration features with Xbox One, which are kind of hit or miss. There's a game streaming feature, which is kind of interesting. You can have a game that's running on your Xbox One, streaming over the local network to your Windows 10 computer using an Xbox One controller, which today has to be connected with USB. You can play the game on your computer, which sounds neat because maybe there are people in the living room that want to watch TV or whatever, but the console can't actually be used for anything else. And so if you're going to do something else on that TV, it can't be on the Xbox One. So you're still only getting a single-person experience there, but pretty cool.
So if my wife is watching TV through the Xbox One, which is connected to our TiVo, I won't be able to stream a game off of it.
Right. Which seems like something that's going to be addressed over time because the Xbox One is a fairly powerful computer. It seems like it should be able to handle that.
It can multitask. I've seen it.
It can. Yeah. Overall, it's a net plus, I would say, for gamers, though.
Well, I think the other reason not to upgrade to Windows 10 right now is to savor the fact that you have a choice, because we've had a lot of people kvetching about the fact that with Windows 10 Home, you don't get a choice unless you want to flag your wireless connection as being the one that shouldn't be upgraded on. You are going to continue to have Windows 10, the latest version, forever.
So it's interesting. There are two sides to this, and I should add, even if you're in Windows 10 Pro, technically speaking, you have to upgrade as well because in order for you to continue getting support from Microsoft, you actually have to keep the computer up to date. So even though it may not enforce it through code, you still have to do that in order to be supported. But the two sides of it sort of reminds me of maybe a helmet law with motorcycles or seatbelt law with cars. When you're trying to protect people from their own stupidity, for lack of a better term, protect people from themselves, or obviously in this case, protect them from the outside world in the form of hacker attacks or whatever. There are instances where Microsoft software updates have borked Windows or have caused problems, and of course, people are looking at this and saying, what if that happens? And I guess all I would say is, we'll see, of course, but also, there are cases where seatbelts have hurt people or even killed people as well, even though by and large they're designed well to protect them. So I think this is the right approach overall. It's ultimately the approach that every other platform maker already takes. And it's much easier to respond to threats when you have fewer versions of code out in the world. And so today we have 3 supported versions of Windows, essentially 7, 8, and 10 now, and multiple versions of Internet Explorer, multiple versions of Microsoft Server products, and every time something happens, they have to create multiple versions of fixes to get that stuff fixed. And I think the point of this is a good one, which is keep everyone, or as many people as possible, on that same code level so that they can fix things more quickly when there are problems.
So my big takeaway from this is that Windows 10 could potentially kill me.
Yes, but put another way, Windows 10 will probably make your life better.
Will probably save your life.
I mean, there are no promises.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and I get what Microsoft is trying to do. It's better for devs to have a single platform to develop for that they know most people will have. The one thing that I noticed, I hadn't thought about this originally when I read about the fact that of the forced upgrades, though, most enterprises will wait sometimes up to a couple of years or even a whole version to upgrade their fleets. There's a lot of folks with Windows 7 in the enterprise right now who may not even go to Windows 10. That will end if this continues to be the case, because eventually everybody will upgrade and there won't be any way to downgrade.
So enterprises, well, right, okay, eventually, I guess, Windows 8 will exit support and they can't downgrade to Windows 8, although I don't see
it'll be a
lot of
while.
those
I know
guys.
Windows 7 doesn't end of life till January 2020.
Yeah,
but
it will be a while. The thing that's interesting about the forced upgrading is that there are ways to defer those upgrades. Even home users can defer upgrades, updates, I should say. Pro users can obviously do that as well. Enterprises can do that for a long, long period of time. And people have been asking, well, they're giving Windows away for free to consumers essentially. Why would enterprises even pay for this thing? Well, this is one of the reasons. They're allowed to control how these updates occur or when they occur within reason. They can't hold off on a critical security update for 10 years or whatever, but they can in fact defer those updates as they need to.
So we'll go to a world in which everyone's on Windows 10, but enterprises might be on an earlier version of Windows 10, but it'll all be Windows 10.
You get it.
Good.
And by the way, I would just draw the parallel with mobile operating systems like Android, or actually iOS is a better example, where people don't really question the fact that this thing gets updated over time and we always move forward to the new version, essentially. I think the trouble with Windows is that it's such a legacy code base. We're used to doing things a certain way and have been doing it that way for 20 years. And so I think a lot of people are very ingrained in the way that they do things, and this seems like somewhat of an affront. But I do think overall, as we get used to it, it will work out for the better.
And yeah, when they turned on updates by default, people, they complained. When they stopped shipping floppy disk versions of Windows, people complained. So I think you're probably right. Before we move off of this, one last question.
I can show you. Let me just show you one thing before we go.
Oh, sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is how they're shipping it. It's
Oh, that's
Wow.
that's the boxed version right there, the USB stick.
yeah,
that is tiny. That's a tiny little USB stick.
Yeah. It's so
Yes.
cute.
It is cute. And it's got a tile at the end.
It does have a tile.
Do you think that Windows 10, I mean, this is the question that nobody really knows the answer, but how good of a move do you think Windows 10 will end up being for Microsoft?
Yeah, so that's a tough one. I mean, obviously, in today's world, things are very different. Android is as big as Windows. iOS is creeping up there. Windows may be the third ecosystem very soon. And I think this is smart because it halts the the bloodbath that was Windows 8 in its tracks very nicely. I think this is a nice response to that. It is an upgrade that I think is equally applicable to people that use Windows 7 today on a traditional computer and people that use a touch-based tablet or whatever with Windows 8. And I think that's important, and I think people are going to rally around that. And I do think they're going to get some positive news out of that. The trouble is, how does this impact the broader platform issues around people aren't developing apps for the store, mobile hasn't gone anywhere fast, and how do you address that? And that is the great unknown. It's kind of hard to say, but I feel a lot better about this version of Windows than I did about Windows 8. Windows 8 was a really uncomfortable conversation, and Windows 10 is not. I mean, there's really not a lot to say that's bad about it. It's pretty fantastic.
All right, let's move on to our pick of the day. It comes from an anonymous user, but they point out that the music catalog for popular streaming services doesn't have many non-English songs. So for someone who wants to stream Arabic music legally, they've had to use YouTube. Enter Anghami. Anghami.com. It's Anghami.com, a music streaming service that operates a lot like Spotify, but their catalog is focused on Arabic music. Just like almost all streaming services, there's a free version with ads, there's a paid version with no ads and offline storage. They have apps for iOS, Android, Windows Phone, BlackBerry, and Nokia Ovi, although no desktop version. He said, we put it on my dad's smartphone. He listens to it all the time, and he's on his commute to and from work. I love it because it gives me access to new and popular Arab music that I wouldn't have found out about otherwise living here in the U.S. So if you're interested in finding an easy way to stream Arabic music on your smartphone, check it out. Anghami, Anghami.com. Send your picks to feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Do you guys use any off the beaten path music streaming services?
Actually, I do. It's called it's called Groove Music. Excuse me. They just renamed it. I think I am one of about 5 people that uses this service.
What is it called again?
It used to be called Xbox Music. You might have heard of it.
Oh,
Now it's called Groove Music.
Groove. Yeah,
We talked
Right.
about Groove.
It's actually pretty great, but nobody. It's pretty much me and some guys from Microsoft that use it, I think.
Do they have Arabic music on?
We just
let's
canceled
get
iTunes or Apple Music. I think we're going to get out of it. I think we're going to go back to RDO.
Oh, I immediately, as soon as I tried the trial of Apple Music, I turned off the auto renew, so
Yeah.
it'll just go away.
It'll just go away.
Let's get to our messages of the day. We had a lot of people respond to our conversation yesterday about Google's new tracking, looking at where you've been site, where you can see on Google Maps all the places that it knows that you've been. Let's start with a call from Jacob.
Hi, Tom. This is Jacob from ridiculously hot Eugene, Oregon. I was listening to your discussion on Google's Where I've Been feature, and I thought I'd chime in because about 10 years ago in 2005, as a little side project, I created a PHP script that basically does the same thing. It gives me a map integrated with Google Maps API that shows me where I've been. And it's been handy over the years a couple of times. I know you were trying to find a use for it. Mainly what I've used it for is if I wanted to look up pictures from a trip I took a long time ago and couldn't remember exactly when it was. I'll just look it up on the map and it'll tell me when I was there, and then I can look up the pictures. You know, they're all sorted by date. But it is kind of fun to see where you've been and what you've been up to and how you've spent your time. I thought I'd chime in. The way I've been gathering this data is with a handy little iOS app called Device Locator. It basically works like Apple's Find My Phone feature, except with a lot more features. I guess you could call that my pick. Keep up the good work. It's a great show, and I love listening to it. Take care.
Thanks for that, Jacob. We got a bunch of other people responded too. Rich from lovely Cleveland said, I want this tied into Zillow, so when I'm looking to move, I can see what my travel time would be if I changed to a new location. Kiwi Red wants to know why everybody's skeptical about Google doing this when they're showing you what they collected, where the mobile carriers won't show you all the things they know about you. Guy from Trinidad said he uses it to complete his own attendance sheet. He just waits until the end of the month and checks his history. Other people have been used it to log their miles. Kenny Brooks says, I don't think Google has an obligation to provide an upfront examples of a use case. I think we need to present the use cases. And then Ned from sunny Sydney said the visualization of your location data used to be called location history and would be found at maps.google.com.au/location history. I use this feature for figuring out my timesheet for work as well, as it would chart when I went to a particular location. He's like, the new timeline design is nice, but he thinks it even contains less information. I'm not sure that that's true or not, but yeah. Paul, does Google showing you what they know about you bother you?
I actually think this feature is cool. I'm usually a little dubious about Google and the data they collect, but this reminds me a lot of the Google Photos service, where it starts making little stories about stuff you've done in the past. And so if you log in on your app on a phone or tablet or on the web, it makes these little stories. And they're always kind of cool. I mean, they're always a little off too, right? They combine two drips in weird ways or whatever, but I just like that. I think no one's more fascinated by me than I am, and Google is showing me that. It's kind of neat.
Veronica, what did you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer to know, I think, at the end of the day. I would rather it be upfront and kind of in my face than have to be surprised by it later down the line. I don't know. I don't mind location services so much, says the person who turns off all her location services.
You're right, because you turn them off.
My friends and all the things. Yeah, I don't mind them when I turn them off.
Yeah. Oh,
so you just get a big empty map of the world.
Yeah, that's how I like it.
Yeah.
The world is my oyster.
Nice.
And that's the key, is having control. And I think that's why I don't mind this service from Google, is they gave you all the control. They gave you an easy way to turn it off. They gave you ways to edit individual trips. You could delete individual trips or rename them. And so as long as you're giving me the control over it, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I like data, though. I always like data. So that is actually one good selling point for me.
Got a couple of emails from people responding to our conversation with Patrick Beja about the mobile internet. Ryan says, as a web developer, I'd say that many mobile websites suck, but a lot of the issues you mentioned are issues of bad web design. There aren't really any technical reasons stopping developers from making websites that work well on mobile devices. The mobile web as a technology platform is far from sucking. And then Eric said the mobile browser has to interpret 3 different languages, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Mobile devices have an inherent disadvantage in doing that simply because it's very inefficient. So he thinks the platform is a problem. A standard that would compile this language to make them more efficient on mobile devices would go a long way to help performance issues. I think Eric's got a point. There are some drawbacks to doing things on mobile. And in fact, somebody else pointed out the fact that your permissions for the browser now apply to every mobile app at that point, although there are workarounds for that as well. But do you guys do you use browsers much on mobile, or do you stick to apps?
I do a little bit of both, but I have been in recent years, pretty disappointed by the look and feel of certain sites, particularly news sites. I think are probably some of the worst offenders when it comes to having a decent reading experience online on your phone, on your mobile device. And yeah, it's not because the sites aren't optimized, but I think it's some of the reasons that you guys probably mentioned on the show, which are just these horrific pop-up ads and things that don't load properly and images causing problems and a lot of things like slideshows that just do not render properly in the mobile development environment. So yeah, it's there could be a better job done in a lot of these ways. And a lot of websites are getting most of their traffic through mobile at this point. So there's every reason to kind of make that a good experience for the reader.
Paul, what about on Windows Phone? I mean, because there aren't as many apps, do you find yourself using the browser more often?
I was just thinking about, what's the percentage? I spend a lot of time in the browser, actually, on Windows Phone, and it varies. There's a nice kind of reading view feature in Windows Phone today and in Windows 10 Mobile soon that lets you cut through some of that stuff, but it seems kind of slow to come on. It doesn't always come on some sites. But I think it's not the mobile web that's broken. It's, like you guys said, it's websites.
I think Eric makes some points about some of the drawbacks to the mobile web, but mostly I agree with Ryan that people just aren't spending as much time for whatever reason. Maybe they think apps are more profitable or whatever, but they just aren't spending as much time developing for it.
I think you need to do both. I mean, an app could be a dead end. You can't expect people to just go in and out of your special experience all the time.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And then finally, Alec, who seems to maybe work in the industry, had an email about our report of the car hacks we mentioned and the fact that we were saying you shouldn't link the entertainment system to the drive system because that's how both of these exploits we've talked about over the past couple of days were achieved. Alex says, don't get me wrong, I agree with you. That is the way it used to be done. However, by tying all these systems into one module, automakers can spend time making one reliable system and cut weight. Chevy, in the most recent model year, cut 15 pounds in wires alone. As for the steering and brakes with park assist systems, if you're showing the driver the rear camera, the video proximity sensor readings, the easiest way to show this info to the driver and get it to the car's computer is, again, to have it tied together with the system that controls that screen, which is the entertainment system. He says, is this the most secure solution? No. But it used to be more expensive to fix and more difficult to maintain, so that's probably why they've combined them. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Cars are particular.
All I can think of is the guy who was hacking planes.
Yeah.
And this is the same issue essentially. Are these systems in fact connected to each other? And if they are, that's obviously a bad design.
Yeah, but I now understand. Thanks to Alec, I now understand why they did it. I'm still not, and I'm with him. I still don't think they should do it. We just have to assume the cost of not being able to take advantage of those efficiencies. But it is really tempting to say, hey, we can get rid of 15 pounds of weight, makes our fuel efficiency go up, makes it easier to program all of these, whiz bang parking assist features. It's tempting.
It's kind of like it's cutting corners in the security realm for sure, but it does make things easier overall. So you have to kind of do that, cost and benefit analysis of that kind of thing. Is it going to cost more money down the line if there are horrible security flaws in the car security system or in the car entertainment system or anything else connected to the internet? It's an interesting, seesaw there. Scale. That's
keep
what I'm
them
looking
separated,
for.
as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is it for this episode of Daily Tech News Show. Paul Thurrott, my friend, a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and talking Windows 10.
Very good to see you, and very nice to meet you, Veronica. Thank you.
Yeah, you
guys.
too.
Go to Thurrott.com if you haven't already bookmarked it, THURROTT.com. Of course, listen to Windows Weekly, watch Windows Weekly, What the Tech on the guys from Queen's Network as well. Obviously, when I ask you what's coming up, I know the answer. It's Windows 10 coverage. But anything in particular you want to point people towards?
Well, I mean, I'll be writing about it on the site. I've got a book coming out about Windows 10. I should have some news about that next week. Unfortunately, I'm going away. It's kind of the worst possible time for this, but I'll be working from vacation, I guess. So.
Thanks a lot, Satya Nadella.
Yeah,
July 29th. Didn't you sync this up with Paul's vacation schedule? Come on.
It was originally October.
I know.
Yeah.
How dare they? Well, a lot of people won't be getting their update till October, so in a way, it's
perfect.
Also, twitter.com/Thurrott, THURROTT. 2 R's, 2 T's, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's the way to spell a last name. It's the proper usage.
It's the only way, I think.
Yeah. Unless you're Veronica Belmont, of course. Host of Sword and Laser, host of Dear Veronica, which I was lucky enough to be on answering a question this week. That was really fun. Thanks for letting me on.
Of course, yeah. We just published a show on iTunes now, so if you're not a fan of viewing on the web, you can download the episode every week. Just search for Dear Veronica, or maybe we'll drop the link in the show notes or in the chat room. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. Thank you so much, Tom, for being on the show. We've got Patrick Norton up next week answering a question about home automation.
Excellent. Go check it out, engadget.com/dear-veronica. And of course, this show only happens if you want it to. If you want to continue to let it happen, continue your support on Patreon or start your support on Patreon at patreon.com/acedetect. There are other ways to express your support of the show as well. You can find all of those at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. We have a store. We have some mugs and t-shirts and stuff like that. Maybe you have a friend of the family who's a DTNS fan. Maybe you can surprise them with a gift or something. dailytechnewsshow.com/support. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Listen to the show live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern on alphageekradio.com and visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back tomorrow with Darren Kitchen and Lynn Peralta. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
And that's it.
That's all she wrote.
Thank you, Paul. That was great.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Have a good vacation, man.
I will try.
So are you leaving
level of
before the
stress.
29th? Is that what the issue is?
Uh-oh. The diaper has changed.
Hey, Roger.
Good show.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
We've got some title suggestions at showbot.tv. Windows 10, 9, 8.
Good.
That's okay.
Windows 10 OGs.
Double pane windows. It's funny.
Windows 10 forward. It's a Star Trek joke. See?
eSports.
Gotta keep them
Seems legit.
separated.
Yes.
Uh,
Put put your
Yeah,
helmet
but
on
it was
before you
really
get to
about the legitimacy of esports. It was more about the.
You're missing the joke. There's
Yeah,
a
I
joke.
understand.
There's
No,
the
I
Diamond
understand.
Club joke.
210 or not 210?
This is what I have to deal with.
Uber.
All right, I'm levelating, so go to showbot.tv and cast your vote. if you would
Download
like
the
to.
Uber app.
Uber?
Uber.
Everybody said, whatever it's called, like Uber.
You said Uber.
By the way, when you said that because that's how they pronounce it there, I believe
That
you.
must be it. That must clearly I'm just so cosmopolitan.
Obviously. Veronica is a master of
Totally
accents.
makes sense.
Don't open that Windows.
There's dueling podcast recordings happening in my house right now. Ryan's doing MVP with Peter in the next room.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice scheduling, Ryan and Peter.
Well, at least they're not eating up my bandwidth because they're both there in person. So.
Oh, okay. That's true. They're not doing a live stream.
Nope.
That's better.
Yeah.
Don't judge an OS by its stick.
Did you hear my very quiet "that's what she said" in the background?
No,
Yeah,
I
that's
missed
good
that.
It's very quiet. I don't know if anyone heard.
I might want to go with that one. Don't judge an OS by its stick.
That's kind of funny.
Do either of you have a favorite of these? Any?
Oh, I
of them?
voted,
Stick
but I'm
one
not
was
going to say
probably
for
good.
which ones.
But you can only
You
vote
get
one.
to.
I don't want to be nepotastic.
You can vote for more than one title. You can only vote for an individual title once.
Yes, I know. I know that.
No, I know you know that. I'm explaining that to Roger.
You see, Veronica.
You see, this is how it works around here, guys.
I'm partial to don't judge an OS by its stick.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. I mean, I think that's the best sounding one in the top three right now.
I know it's not as good for SEO.
It will
but I
keep
don't
people
care.
listening because it's not clear what that even means.
Yes, that's always good policy.
We
That's
have
how we
to
pull 'em
assume
in.
that this is explained.
Right.
Windows 10 forward. I like that one. I like Star
You
Trek.
like the Star? You like the Star Trek joke?
I saw the most Star Trek-y car yesterday on the highway. It had the biggest Star Trek insignia, and it had a big thing that said Star Trek on the back. This is in Santa
In case you
Cruz.
didn't understand what the insignia
Yeah.
was.
But like the insignia was like the length, the height of the back window. It was huge.
Wow.
I didn't even know they made them that big. Pretty funny. Pretty funny. I think I'm gonna do sword and laser real fast so I can go take like a quick nap because I'm so tired.
You're going to do sword and laser?
No, well we have sword and laser.
Yeah.
Do we not? At 4? At
Right.
5?
Yeah.
4. So I'm gonna do the things I need to get in the rundown.
Oh, you're not going to do the episode.
I'm gonna do the episode alone.
Offline.
If you don't mind. I just think it'd be better that way,
Offline.
like from a quality standpoint.
I'll just do my parts and send them to you. You fill in
You
some
can just
comments.
fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
There we go. I'll just say yeah, but you have to match the gaps with what I leave. I'm not going to edit this, so you have to like. I'm just going to be quiet for a while. You just fill in that space and then export the final.
Yeah, and if you start one of your bits with a laugh, I have to say something funny.
Yeah, you're right. I'll just start cracking up. You have to think of a good enough joke to make me laugh that hard. Puns work. I'll accept puns.
I know you will. That's one of the reasons that I'm still friends with you.
I like how you wouldn't be otherwise. Like I gave up on that one.
It's actually the other way around. It's one of the reasons you can tolerate listening to me talk.
So yeah, Paul, if you have time, like don't feel pressured if you do not have time to record a response for Dear Veronica. I totally understand.
Okay.
But if you do, like that would be amazing. So I'll email you about
Yes.
it.
Okay.
I just need to know like today-ish.
Right now. No, I can do it. I can do it.
Okay, great.
And actually, I should say, Tom,
Mhm.
my Paul at Thurrott.com is actually like a Gmail address
Okay.
and is my primary account now.
Okay.
So I was just, you have Thurrott at Gmail in your address book, I think, which
Oh,
works.
yeah.
It kind of forwards, but I almost forgot to like switch over to it for this, in the browser. So if you could.
Yeah, I have it. I have that one also.
Okay. Yeah.
So I just
mean,
need
they
to
both work
delete
for
the.
email, but
Yeah. I just need to delete that one. The other
yeah, I'd like to pretend it never existed, but so I'm stuck with it.
Got it. So it's the one that just has Paul.
Yeah, Paul
Yeah.
ad.
All right.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
Cool.
Well, yeah. Thanks again, man. I'm just going to sit here and upload, but
I'm going to go drink a glass of wine
you should. What are you going to
That's a good
drink?
idea.
since it is that time here.
What
Yeah.
what kind of wine do you have?
I don't know what we're gonna. Actually, geez, can I come up with the name of this? I cannot. But last time we were out in the San Francisco area, we went up to Sonoma, and we went to a couple places we always go, like Sebastiani and Bart Park and whatever. But the heck is the name of this place? We went to a place we'd never gone before. They built the winery. It's a bunker in a hill, and it is amazing.
Oh,
And-
a bunker on a hill. Is it Chapelet?
no, it begins with an A. Oh God, I can't
Not
think.
Opus.
No, it's not Opus. Shoot, I'm so
Bunker
sorry. I
on a
can't.
hill.
think of
Yeah, the
name.
only hill one that I go to that I've been to is Chapelet.
I feel like I've been there and I don't.
It's amazing, and this is our last bottle, so I have to. I'm gonna have to figure that out. But it's basically it.
Wine club. Join the wine club.
Yeah, which I can do now. So up until through January, I couldn't because we live in Massachusetts and we have puritanical laws here, but those just expired.
Home
That's
of the
great.
Puritans.
Yeah, I worked at a liquor store in Boston for 3 years.
Oh, so you understand the mob-run business that is wine distribution in Massachusetts.
Indeed.
So, yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, I don't miss that part. I don't miss having to drive up to New Hampshire on Sunday in case we forgot to find.
Oh my gosh. I remember the first time I was staying with my friend in Provincetown. She was working there like for a summer job, and I went to visit her.
What'd you
We
do? Take a boat
Practically. I had to drive all the way down and all the way up.
all the way down the arm?
And so we went up to New England on the weekend. And when the first time I crossed the border in New Hampshire, it was like in every other state that I've seen, it's fireworks. But here it was liquor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Over there. So
we,
now,
we can buy on Sunday now. That changed.
I was going to say, did all those
Good.
New Hampshire border liquor stores go out of business?
No, well, they're state run. The big ones on the highway are state run, so no, and they have no taxes, so there's still some advantages
okay.
to it. But what started it was the towns on the edge of the state because they were saying, well, 2 minutes from here, there's a liquor store that's open on Sunday, and we're not open on Sunday. And then of course they allowed it on the border towns. The next towns over complained, and you can kind of see how
Right.
that happened. But we still, it's funny, in Massachusetts we still have some of that left. So I'm going to get the number wrong, but let's say that any given store chain can only sell alcohol in 5 locations. So if you're something huge like Stop and Shop or Whole Foods or whatever.
Oh,
You
you're
have
the
to-
first person to say Stop and Shop at me in so long. I called
it's-
Safeway Stop and Shop for a decade, and everyone was like, "What is Stop and Shop?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's time to Stop and
it's a
Shop."
regional chain,
Yes.
So the Stop and Shop that's in Dedham, where I live, does not sell alcohol. The Whole Foods does, thankfully. But
They have
You
to
know, they
pick
have
their top 5 locations, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure they pick it by volume of sales or whatever.
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
mind
very
was
strange.
blown seeing a supermarket that sold alcohol for the first time.
Yes,
I could not believe
Yep.
it. I was like, "Oh, you can buy booze at the
I know
Safeway?" I never
how
thought.
modern and forward thinking.
We're thinking exactly.
I don't have to go
you
to
know-
a packy to buy special forms of liquor.
You're my favorite.
I know exactly what you guys are talking about because I grew up in a dry town. And they eventually changed the law long after I had moved away. And the first time I went back and there was beer in the Kroger, I was taking pictures with my
Yeah.
phone. I was like,
Right.
this is amazing. And we had a packaged liquor store on the edge of town. That's where you had to go to buy your beer.
Yeah, we go on packy runs, as we say.
Packy runs. Stop at the Packy.
Yep.
Yeah, I did. I worked at Clarendon Wine in Copley Square, Copley Plaza for 3 years, doing all the deliveries and working the register and helping people pick out wine, which to me was like, I didn't know.
That one
This
looks
one is-
like a
this
pretty
one's
label.
There's a
Yeah.
cartoon cat on this one.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny.
I was really good at that.
It's killing me. I can't think of the name of this wine place. I wish
I can picture it actually. Like I probably went there with my sister in 2000.
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to go get the bottle.
All
Oh,
right.
good. Okay, fun.
I have finally got us uploaded.
Oh, good.
So there we go. Roger's still back on Ellie duty.
Ellie Belly.
Oh, Ellie. Will you ever learn? Hey, anybody like Scott Sigler out there? We're going to do a special live stream Google Hangout with him. It's sort of the last stop on his book tour is the internet. So join us on Sword and Laser's Hangout on Friday, right after Current Geek. So about 5:15 Pacific time, 8:15 Eastern time, and come up with some questions for Scott.
I'll put the link to the Hangout in the
cool. Yeah.
chat room.
Or you can go to swordandlaser.com or Goodreads.
Yeah, or you can go to Sword and Laser. Well, yeah, we should put that on the blog. I'll put that on the blog.
We'll put it in the show notes for today's episode too, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find it, Paul?
I didn't. I just ran out there and it's gone. My wife must have moved it to the cellar.
No!
Moved it to the cellar, eh?
I don't know. I'm going to email it to you both.
Great.
All right.
It's killing me that I cannot think of this.
That's fair.
I'm sorry.
We're going to take off now. As I mentioned, Sword and Laser will come up later today, so stay tuned for that. Talk to you later, folks. Bye.